Committee. And as I'm sure many of you know, the current Farm Bill is set to expire this year, specifically the end of September. And without a doubt, the most important part of the Farm Bill process is to hear, to listen and hear from our farmers, ranchers, foresters, processors, and all of our producers, like all of you. So we all know what's working, what's not, and where you need the most support. And so there's a saying I learned BC, which either stands for before Congress or before children for me, that when it comes to public policy, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And we want you at the table. You don't want us writing this farm bill, listening to the voices, just the voices inside the Beltway of Washington. We need your voices at the table, and that's why we work hard to get out and to be able to listen, to use what God has given us. And quite frankly, that's 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so that's why we call this a listening session. And we're hoping to get through as many questions as possible here in a couple hours that we have allotted. I'd like to thank my esteemed colleagues for joining me. We have a great panel here, and I'm excited to have a bipartisan group of agriculture advocates before you today. We're ready to trade in our dress shoes for our work boots, because that's what it's going to take to get this done on time, in a bipartisan, bicameral way, and quite frankly, something that's highly effective for American agriculture. The most important industry in the lives of every American family. No other industry touches American families' lives more times than a day. And I'd say a lot of families around the world, when you look at our exports that we do, and quite frankly, our humanitarian assistance we provide. I'm pretty confident that, quite frankly, that people with full bellies are less likely to engage in terrorism and war. And that's good for all of us. Also, I want to welcome with folks who are here today. We've got our hosting congressman from the Texas 17th Congressional District, Mr. Pete Sessions, is with us. We have the vice chair of the Full House Agriculture Committee, also serves as the chair of the General Farms Commodities, Risk Management, and the Credit Subcommittee, and that's Mr. Austin Scott from Georgia 8th Congressional District. And then the gentleman from Indiana 6, serves as a subcommittee chair for Conservation, Research, and Biotechnology, Congressman Jim Baird. We're joined by a gentleman who has been working diligently to get on this committee, very successfully. Plus, I get tired of him stalking me for 2 years. What a great addition to the committee. We're proud to have him here, representing Texas 13, Mr. Ronny Jackson. And then we have a gentleman who serves as the chairman of the Livestock, Dairy, and Poultry Subcommittee for the Agriculture Committee. From Kansas 1, Congressman Tracey Mann. And then we have one of our new members that just came on board with the 118th Congress. Really proud to have her as a part of the farm team, a part of the Agriculture Committee, representing Texas 30, Ms. Jasmine Crockett. Now, I also want to welcome a good friend of mine that every once in a while I fill in as a stunt double for him. So, no, you don't have blurred vision. This is me and President Zippy Duvall of the American Farm Bureau Federation. And he's going to help us kick things off for us in just a few minutes. Like I mentioned before, we're here to listen. Due to time constraints, I'd like to ask our participants to keep their remarks about 2 to 3 minutes. Now, I know that seems like a small amount, but that's tried and tested. And we get really, I think we get our best testimony doing that, because folks get right to the point, and that's it's really helpful. And, we do that so we can hear from more voices. And we want to hear from as many folks as possible. And I'd like to assure you there'll be plenty of more opportunities to share your feedback with us. And forward to hearing from you. If we don't get your question, to answer it, we have your question, and so we'll try to circle back with you. Also, if you go on agriculture.house.gov, you'll be able to actually on our website, the House website, there's a drop-down box. It's got a real easy form to fill out, and we take unlimited written testimony. So we're looking for your thoughts, your ideas, challenges you're facing, and quite frankly, do me a favor, put some homegrown solutions in that as well, because there's nobody that knows the solutions better to the problems that you're facing than the people that live with them each and every day, and that goes for American, those who are involved in providing us food and fiber and building materials and energy resources, both production and processing. Can't have one without the other. So be sure to grab a comment card from our staff if you'd like to share your feedback today. And that said, we do encourage you to submit your Farm Bill feedback by scanning the QR code at the welcoming table. Another way that'll take you right in there. Not sure how those QR codes work, but they're pretty cool the way that they do. They'll be able to put you right in touch with us. And with that, I'm going to kick things over to our host here today in Texas 17, Congressman Pete Sessions, for a few words.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for not only coming to Texas, but to Waco, Texas. And we are honored to have you. You've spent the week. Your members are here. They're hearing about the importance of not only agriculture, but communities and the lives that take part in this important activity to make sure we provide food with proper nutrition to America and the world, and we think that's important. Mr. Chairman, if I could just take one bit of personal pleasure, we are joined today by Judge Starr's beautiful young bride, Alice Starr. Alice, thank you for being here with us today. Your commitment to not only education but also nutrition issues when Judge Starr was president of Baylor University are legendary for processes that help so many children across Texas with nutrition, and thank you very much. And that is commensurate with Judge Starr and your commitment to the children of Texas and nutrition that's so important. Mr. Chairman, as a 28-year member of the Texas Farm Bureau, I take seriously the men and women who get up and tend to not just the nutrition issues, but really the communities that we have all across Texas. And so today I will say to each of my colleagues that this represents the heart and soul of Texas. To each of you out there, I want you to know that these members who are here that I'm a part of also represent ideas and ideals about American agriculture, and we take very seriously, including our young chairman who's from Pennsylvania. He takes very seriously his role and responsibility to ensure that what happens in this reauthorization of the Farm Bill by the end of September is one that's successful, one that aims to make us better, and one that is bipartisan, meaning that we can work together off issues that are so important for this country. Lastly, thank you to the Texas Farm Bureau and so many people for helping to make this. Our headquarters is here in Waco, and we feel very strongly about the need to make sure that we're supporting Texas agriculture. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back my time.
Well, thank you, Pete. Next, I'd like to recognize my Democrat colleague, Ms. Crockett, for a few brief words.
Well, good afternoon. Yeah, I didn't think that this is what was going to happen when I joined Congress, that I would have an opportunity to come on down the street to Waco and see some of my good Texas friends. So I'm excited to be home. I'm excited to have this listening session opportunity. So often people keep saying DC is so disconnected from who we are. And definitely as a Texan sometimes on the floor, I definitely feel like we are disconnected. And so this is our opportunity to have real conversations. When I joined the Ag Committee, one of the things that I was most concerned about was, number one, that we had the Farm Bill coming up. But number 2 was nutrition and SNAP benefits. And just a little bit about my district. It's right up the street in Dallas, Texas. 20% of my district lives at or below poverty. And so considering inflation, which we've had a very robust conversation this morning about inflation and how it's hitting our farmers and how it's hitting our ranchers, and how it's affecting the overall industry. I thought about, okay, now we know that people are going to the grocery stores and they're saying we can't afford the food. And we know that those that are making sure that they're producing our food are saying, wait a minute, we're not getting enough money to be able to take care of our families so that we can take care of other families. But what I didn't anticipate was having conversations about things such as alternative fuels. From when I joined ag, I thought we were going to talk about food. But it affects every single part of our life. When we're talking about climate change, we're talking about ag. When we're talking about things such as SNAP benefits, we're talking about ag. When we're talking about, we had a conversation about hemp and building materials, we're talking about ag. And so coming from the great state of Texas, guess what? We do a lot of ag down here. And so I was so excited and so thankful that the chairman did decide that it was important that we listen to you. And I want you to know that the chairman has done a fantastic job this week of making sure that he is hearing from everyone, not just one side of the industry. And I also want to thank the Texas Farm Bureau for having us this morning. I'm a bit of an East Texas girl, so I came from Texarkana. And so I was a Texas Farm Bureau member for a number of years. And so ag is that one thing that while most people may think that it is only rural, it affects all of us. It is rural, it is urban, it is who we are in this country. And so I'm excited to hear from you and excited to get to work for you. Thank you so much, Chairman, and with that I'll yield back.
Well, I thank the gentlelady. Jasmine, thank you so much. Now I'd like to turn things over to my good friend Zippy to get things started. Zippy, take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to thank all the honorables here at the table, and I feel honored being able to sit among you. They put me between the chairman and the vice chairman. I don't know whether for them to control me or me control them, but we'll figure out that as we go.
Yes.
And that 2-minute time tested thing, well, obviously you didn't do it in the South. Because we don't talk as fast as you, Mr. Chairman, but we'll try to keep it in the 2 minutes.
We'll give you more words.
So, agriculture, American agriculture, almost 6 million members across this country. This is one of the biggest state farm bureaus in Texas there is in the country, and a great one, and by the great leadership of Russell Baining and his board of directors. We just appreciate the work they do so much. We're about food security and national security. That's what you and I do each day on our farm. We are important to this country so that we can continue to feed ourselves and be healthy. And we're the people that every family looks to each and every day for the nourishment that we grow for them and provide for them. We did a couple of surveys here recently, and I'd like to share the two things I saw in the survey. 73% of the adults that we surveyed said that it was really important to get a farm bill passed this year, that it would affect our country negatively if they didn't. 73% of those adults thought that. And 89% of the people we surveyed said that farmers were the most trusted professionals in the country. 89%. So having said that, I've experienced traveling the country. I've been all 50 states and Puerto Rico. I've seen the best side of America and the best people in America, and that's our farmers and ranchers across this country. And I'll tell you what I hear is crop insurance is a cornerstone of our farm bill. Please modernize it, broaden it, and make sure it's there to help these farmers get through difficult times. Title I programs are outdated. The targets and the loan rates in there doesn't reflect today's cost of production. And we know that would call for broadening the baseline, and we support y'all seeking out trying to do that. Conservation, as long as it stays voluntary, market-based, and science-driven, hey, our farmers have proven to the tone of 140 million acres that they've already voluntarily put into conservation programs. That's the size of California and New York put together. We voluntarily did that, and we'll do that in more conservation and more climate smart practices as they come. One of the things that's really important, and we farmers understand this, is yes, there's a safety net given to farmers and ranchers through the Farm Bill. But there's also a safety net for the people in our country that are not as fortunate as others. And we know how important it is to keep those two areas together, united in the Farm Bill, so that we can provide that safety net all the way across our food system. And then the last thing I would say to you, two things. One, research and development dollars will be outspent by China and other countries 3-1. Research and development what keeps us on the cutting edge. It keeps us being climate smart farming. It keeps us sustainable in the future. It's important. And the last one I'll tell you is look around the room and look at the average age of the farmers sitting in this room. We have to do something to make agriculture attractive to young people so they will come back and grow the food and fiber for the future. And that means that we've got to find some way to make those margins a little bit bigger so that they can afford to do that. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you so much as a friend and as a legislator. Trust you a lot. Look forward to working with you, and our organization is there to assist you in any way.
Mr. President, thank you so much. And now as we get to our really the most important part of today, and that's hearing from you, I would ask that if you would, if everybody who can stand, remove your cover as we offer our pledge to this country and ask for blessings. And leading the Pledge of Allegiance will be Brandon White, first Vice Chairman for the D8 4-H. Now be followed by the prayer led by Bryce Fisher, Texas FFA First Vice President.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father God, I just thank you for the joy that is agriculture. Thank you for bringing us all here together today with the goal of bettering American agriculture and feeding the world. God, I ask that you give us the courage to speak our minds, and you give our elected officials the courage to serve as you would, Lord. God, I ask that you just bring us all here together with the common goal that we want to better agriculture with whatever it takes. God, agriculture is such a fulfilling but hard laboring job, and we're so thankful to be involved in it. I ask that you bless every single person in here as they travel home. I ask that you keep your hand on them and bring peace and safety into our country. God, I ask that you just continue to bless American agriculture and make it abundant for years to come. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Go ahead and please be seated. And a great big thank you to Brandon and Bryce and the two great youth leadership programs that they belong to, 4-H and FFA. How about a big hand for both the organizations and these young men? All right, well, we're going to get started. Aaron's from the Ag Committee staff team is going to be calling folks up to the microphone. Now, I'm not used to this. I'm an old football player, although I did have my kids played soccer, so I'm going to throw some yellow and red cards, I guess, just to try to just a visual reminder of keeping us on track so we get through as many comments and information as possible. And when I put this one up, you have about a minute to go. And then this one, I just ask that you kind of wrap up wherever you're at in your thoughts. Just know that we will take unlimited written testimony as well, both today and going forward. We want your voice at the table for the 2023 Farm Bill. Ms. Aaron, it's up to you.
Great, thank you. First up, we'll hear from Jerry Moody, a poultry grower from Omaha, Texas. And we've got two mics here, so if we can alternate between the two mics. After Mr. Moody, we'll hear from Dee Vaughn with the Texas Corn Producers from Dumas, Texas. And then we'll hear from Trevor Berlin with Farm Credit from West Texas. So let's start with those folks. So Jerry, you're up first.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Gosh, I'm first up, and this is the first time I ever spoke to a crowd this big. So anyway, introduce myself. I'm Jerry Moody. I am from Omaha, Texas. I am in the poultry and cattle business. I'm a contract grower, and we have a cow-calf and black Angus operation. I am a first-generation farmer and rancher, although my wife's side of the family has been in farming and ranching much longer than a long time. But for me, I'm a first-generation farmer. Been in it 25 years. I left my farm this morning in the hands of my 19-year-old son and a 16-year-old farmhand. So with that being said, I came here because I am passionate and feel that this is a very large, important subject that we need to look at. So in here, I got a question. Who eats chicken? Everybody eats chicken, right? You probably don't hear from many poultry growers. And the reason being is we have no commodity groups. We have to represent ourselves. And I also believe that there's a misconception that poultry growers don't have any risk, and that cannot be further from the truth. We have lots of risks. Somebody's going to talk about some of them here in a little bit, but one of the things that I would like to have consideration in is some kind of a flock insurance where we can protect a revenue protection for poultry growers. There's so many things that are out of our control, whether it be disease, no antibiotics anymore, we can't treat them, whether it be weather related. There's a number of things that are out of our control that we can't protect ourselves. So anyway, we need that. A couple other things is the USDA 2 proposed rules for the packers and stockers. One of them is the transparency rule. We support that. What we want the integrators to be transparent with us about house cost, debt, grower compensation, how bird weight. That makes a huge difference. You take quarter of a pound off my birds, that's $12,000 a year on a 6-house farm, and I've got 11 houses. I've got 2 farms like that. Number of flocks a year, bird health, et cetera, et cetera. And the last thing is the proposed rule number 2 is about retaliation, where if growers have some kind of concerns about the integrator, that those integrators can't come back and retaliate against us by holding birds out, whatever it might be. You know, I feel like I'll close up with this and kind of going on what Zippy said. I feel like I'm a little fish in a very big pond in the chicken industry. But if we keep taking the little fish out of the big pond, there's no pond anymore. Thank you.
Jerry, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I really want to welcome you to Texas. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and listen to agriculture here in Texas. Chairman Sessions, certainly appreciate you being the host here in Waco in the Texas 17th District. The letter that was sent by the chairman and representing the committee last week to the budget chairman, Arrington, I thought you hit it spot on. You nailed it. You clearly defined exactly what is wrong with Title I, among other things, but Title I specifically, you defined what was wrong and you defined the solution. And I can't add to anything that you put in that letter, so I'm going to move on and expound on other things. A couple of other things that impact Title I effectiveness, one of them being payment limits. The same thing has happened to our payment limit for an individual farmer that's happened to PLC and ARC reference prices. Inflation has eaten it up. If you go back through the history of payment limits, through all the farm bills, all the way back to the original payment limits in the 1970 Farm Bill, and you look at the buying power that those payment limits had versus today, explains the point. The other issue is base acres. A lot of our producers don't have base acres, or they don't have a crop base acre for what they're growing today. Maybe they grew it 20 years ago. We need to do something there, and we'll be providing some solutions on that as well, or some ideas for y'all to consider. A third issue is crop insurance. We hear all the time about, well, we need to link crop insurance to climate change practices or conservation practices. That may be all well and good, as long as it's actuarially sound. Same thing with means testing and caps. Those things impact the actuarial soundness. If you drive acres outside the program, outside of crop insurance, the few acres that are left that are being insured have to pay more. That's the taxpayer paying more as well. I'll conclude with that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all's time and look forward to continued dialogue in the days and weeks ahead.
Chairman Thompson, members of Congress, my name is Trevor Burline. I own and operate Burline Angus Ranch based in McLennan County, but we also operate cattle herds in McLennan, Hill, and Bosque counties. In addition, I currently serve on the Young, Beginning, and Small Farmer Advisory Committee for Lone Star Ag Credit. I would like to briefly highlight a few key points on behalf of Farm Credit. For more than 100 years, Lone Star Ag Credit has been at the forefront of financing agriculture for rural Texas. Based in Fort Worth, Lone Star operates 15 offices in 48 counties, and we proudly maintain the position and values of independence, strength, stability, and service in meeting the financial needs of agriculture. As a lending cooperative with more than 12,000 customers and a loan volume of more than $2.5 billion, Lone Star is committed to supporting agriculture and rural communities by providing reliable and consistent credit to farmers, ranchers, as well as agribusiness. Mr. Chairman, as we look to the next Farm Bill, I'd like to draw attention to 3 key areas of importance to agriculture as well as farm credit: crop insurance, conservation, and loan limits to FSA guaranteed loans. Crop insurance remains agriculture's best risk management tool. It's imperative that Congress continue to protect a strong, effective federal crop insurance program. Conservation and climate will undoubtedly be part of Farm Bill discussions, and Farm Credit believes that agriculture is part of the solution to mitigating the impacts of changing climates. Farmers and ranchers, by the nature of what we do, are the original stewards of the land, and our livelihood depends on it. As you look at the intersection of agriculture and environment, I ask that any of the programs provide a voluntary, incentive-based tools for farmers and forest owners, promote private sector solutions, recognize the need for additional research, and not require any additional decision on agricultural lending be based on farmers adopting certain conservation practices. Like many farm credit associations, Lone Star Ag works closely with USDA's FSA on guaranteeing loans. FSA currently caps the amount that it will guarantee a farm ownership or operating loan at $2 million. In an extremely capital-intensive industry like agriculture, this limit can create a barrier to entry for young and beginning producers and reduce the overall efficacy of the program. We support increasing FSA loan amounts to reflect the increasing cost of land, equipment, and other inputs. On behalf of Lone Star Ag's Credit's YBS Advisory Committee members and staff, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today and share our perspective. We look forward to working with you and your colleagues on the next Farm Bill and stand ready to help you in anything that you may need.
Trevor, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thanks for your testimony.
Great. Up next, we've got Slade Schuring, a rice farmer with the CO3S Ranch from El Campo, Texas, followed by Celia Cole with Feeding Texas, and then Matthew Huey with the South Texas Cotton and Grain.
Hello, Chairman Thompson and members of the committee. My name is Slade Schuring. I'm a 4th-generation rice farmer, cattle rancher, and landowner from El Campo, Texas, located down in Wharton County, down along the Gulf Coast. I also sit on the board of directors for the Wharton County Soil and Water Conservation District, and I'm the area chairman for our local Rice Belt Ducks Unlimited chapter. Myself, along with my parents, are heavily involved with Ducks Unlimited, not only because of the connection that DU has with rice farming and waterfowl, but also because of their dedication to conservation. To name a few of the programs that I'm associated with is the Rice Stewardship Program, EQIP, RCPPs, and the TPWP programs. The Rice Stewardship Program, partnering with USA Rice back in 2013, is a prime and key program for the future of the rice industry. This program not only helps us producers, but also it uses to create and desperate build needed habitat for migrating winter waterfowl. The Rice Stewardship Program uses Farm Bill voluntary incentive-based conservation programs to help not only create this habitat, but also implement new conservation practices that work well within each rice producer's own operation. In Texas alone, DU has worked with rice producers to develop 150 Farm Bill conservation contracts on over 100,000 acres of land, bringing over $32 million to producers, workers, businesses, and to our local community areas. Continuing to provide strong funding for these voluntary incentive-based conservation programs allows the Rice Stewardship Program and other programs to thrive and meet the goal to impact more than 50% of the total rice acres farmed across our country. I look forward to working with you, Chairman Thompson, and the other members of the committee in helping write the 2023 Farm Bill that sustains our natural resources and maintains strong funding for incentive-based conservation programs on all of our working lands. I would also be honored to provide you with a field tour of our farms when the ducks and geese arrive this fall to show you these key programs and practices working. Thank you for your time allowing me to speak and represent rice farmers and Ducks Unlimited.
Slade, thank you so much. Slade, let me know when that duck season comes in.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and committee members. Thank you for being with us here in Texas. I'm Celia Cole. I'm the CEO of Feeding Texas, the State Association of Food Banks. We support and represent a network of 21 food banks, including the Central Texas Food Bank, but collectively they provide food and other services to every county of the state. We have the second largest SNAP program in the country, and obviously among the highest rates of food insecurity. So Texas offers some clear insights into what makes SNAP work and what doesn't, and I'd like to share some of those insights with you here today. First, as in the rest of the nation, I just want to emphasize that SNAP is the biggest and most efficient tool we have for fighting hunger. In the broader ecosystem of hunger relief, it is doing the heavy lift. For every meal that food banks put on the table in Texas, SNAP puts 9. So when you improve access to SNAP benefits, it obviously increases food security, but also reduces strain on other parts of the system. And in contrast, when you cut benefits, it increases that strain. With the end of the pandemic emergency allotments, Texas families and food banks are feeling that strain right now. And Texas retailers, in particular those located in rural communities with lots of mom and pop grocers and smaller food stores, are feeling the impact of those cuts as well. So I encourage you to keep the importance of access to SNAP and the adequacy of those benefits top of mind throughout Farm Bill discussions. My second point is that work requirements in SNAP are not an effective tool to improving employment outcomes. As you know, most SNAP recipients are kids or seniors, people with disabilities. They're not expected to work, but among those who are, many either just lost a job, are working, or have really significant barriers to employment. And while Texas is a leader, I think, in SNAP administration in many ways, our approach to sort of very cookie cutter work requirements and strict sanctions is a real policy miss. Instead of receiving job training or upskilling that could help someone increase their earnings, or services to remove barriers to employment, instead mandatory participants spend hours every week documenting the time they spend looking for work. They're encouraged to take the first job that's there, even if it won't lead to long-term stability. So in short, our approach to work requirements creates red tape for participants, not good jobs. So we encourage you to eliminate counterproductive work requirements for SNAP participants, and also encourage you to expand SNAP for low-income college students. Because by helping students finish college, SNAP actually can be an effective tool for improving employment outcomes. And the last point I want to make is that SNAP works best when we reduce bureaucracy and make use of innovative tools. For example, Texas has made good use of technology and data matching, both to support SNAP application assistance by community partners like food banks, as well as reduce errors and detect fraud. We also employ the categorical eligibility state option to eliminate redundancies across programs and increase efficiencies and streamline processes, and that saves the state time and dollars. So states should maintain the ability to decide if that option is right for them. Finally, everyone wins when we eliminate unnecessary paperwork, and our recent efforts to simplify SNAP enrollment for seniors is a great example of that. So I'm going to wrap up by saying that SNAP is proven to reduce the burden of hunger for millions of Americans. It should be celebrated and it should be strengthened. Fighting hunger is a bipartisan effort, and we hope this tradition continues with the next Farm Bill. Thank you.
Chellie, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, thank you again for making your way to Texas. Your time here I know is valuable, and we really appreciate you taking time to listen today. I'm Matt Huey, for those of you who don't know me. I farm and ranch near Beeville, Texas. We have a row crop operation that grows cotton, corn, grain, sorghum, wheat, and a cow-calf operation, and a ranch-to-table beef business. I'm here today to represent South Texas Cotton and Grain, and I'm also the past chairman of the Southwest Council of Agribusiness. Everybody in this country has experienced inflation and inflation-related costs, and agriculture is no exception to that. In fact, agriculture has borne a larger brunt than anything we've seen as a percentage advertised in any national media. my costs on my farm are up about 50% over the last 3 years for break-even prices. And I hear people talk about that around the country. I think when we talk about the pieces of that in terms of fertilizer, fuel, labor, chemistry, and interest. Interest is up 100% in 1 year, and I finally say I have more notes than a piano. When we look at those numbers and we talk about what that's going to mean when we write this farm bill, I think it's absolutely imperative that we have more money. I appreciate the letter. I thought it was fantastic that y'all wrote this last week. And I think that there's a lot of concern among our groups that if we don't have that money, that going forward to try to write this bill probably has more risk than reward. Thank you, sir.
Matt, thank you so much. Appreciate your testimony.
Great. Up next, we've got Brett Erickson from Little Bear Produce in Edinburgh, Texas, followed by Daniel Berglund, president of the Texas Soybean Association, and then followed by Dr. Cliff Lamb, director of Texas A&M AgriLife Research.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson, members of the committee. Thank you for coming to our great state. My name is Brett Erickson, and I represent Little Bear Produce. I'm also here today as a representative of Texas International Produce Association, the Texas Vegetable Association, and International Fresh Produce Association. Little Bear Produce is a family-owned and operated grower, packer, shipper of fresh greens, onions, and melons located in the Rio Grande Valley. We farm over 40 different commodities on 6,000 acres in Texas, New Mexico, Georgia, New Jersey, Peru, and Mexico. We employ over 700 people between full-time and seasonal. Farm policy is food policy. What Congress includes in the next farm bill is crucial to the produce industry in Texas and throughout the U.S. Today I'm asking for your action on 3 areas. In Texas, we are being flooded with people, yet barely an ag worker in sight. The ag labor shortage is a national food security crisis. While Congress has repeatedly punted on fixing ag labor, the importation and consumption of foreign-grown produce continues to accelerate. We are now more dependent on foreign-grown fresh produce than we've ever been in the history of this country. I hope you have your staff fact-check me that with USDA. In an age when Republicans and Democrats disagree on how to fix just about anything, both parties seem to agree that it's okay that imported produce is surpassing American grown in the grocery store, and that U.S. specialty crop growers have been placed into an unlevel playing field which favors foreign producers. Unfortunately, this has been largely created by our own officials and elected or government agencies creating this here on our home turf. Since Congress refuses to tackle ag labor head-on, you can help alleviate our labor needs by investing heavily in the R&D of mechanization and automation for specialty crops. If you won't give us the people, give us the tools and technology to become more competitive domestically and globally. Next, water. We're running out. Our irrigation delivery systems are decrepit and broken. You can't legislate rain, but you can fund infrastructure projects to more efficiently manage and deliver the water that we do have, especially in rural and underserved regions like South Texas. Finally, we need effective specialty crop insurance programs. Texas has over 60 specialty crops, yet crop insurance is available for 2. Please work with our industry to develop meaningful insurance offerings that help protect us. The Specialty Crop Farm Bill Alliance has provided the committee with recommendations on how to improve crop insurance, and we support those ideas. Thank you all for your time today.
Brett, thank you so much.
Daniel Berglund, you're up next, followed by Dr. Cliff Lamb. All right, we'll start with Dr. Cliff Lamb.
Mr. Chairman and committee, thank you for being here and for listening to all of the agriculturalists in the room. I'm Cliff Lamb. I serve as the director for Texas A&M AgriLife Research. We're the research arm of the Land Grants Institution, and we share a lot of the work that we do with our partners in Extension and the education institutions in the state. There are several things that are extremely important to us sort of moving forward to maintain resilient livestock and crop types of environments. And you know, for us, it's extremely important that we continue to work on not only the environmental sustainability, but the economic and social sustainability of our livestock and crop operations. From our standpoint, though, as a research organization, we turn almost every dollar of investment into greater than $32 in funding back into the pockets of everybody that's in this room here today. And so for us, we have an aging infrastructure. We need significant infrastructure investments into our agricultural research institutions. And we also need to continue to shore up our agricultural research opportunities through USDA in many ways, even on the competitive side. Within Texas, as you just heard, we really need to focus on biodefense of our food system and our food supply chain. Texas imports more agricultural products than any other state through our borders and ports, and figuring out ways to utilize artificial intelligence, machine learning, and things like that to detect issues are extremely important, and we want to lead those efforts. Bioenergy is another area that we need to focus on moving forward, and Texas is behind. We really need support there. Controlled environment agriculture. There is a lot of opportunity when you take a look at the urban communities growing around for us to continue to improve our production efficiency through controlled environment agriculture, and any support in that realm is extremely important. And then lastly, we thank the committee for the support on the feral swine program. That's extremely important, and we would value the opportunity to continue to support that. So thank you for your time.
Dr. Graham, thanks so much. Thanks to all your colleagues, too, for what you all do.
Great. Up next is Dale Murden, with president of the Texas Citrus Mutual from Mission, Texas, followed by Jeremy Everett with Baylor University Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty from Waco, Texas, and then Damon Wells with the National Turkey Federation from Austin, Texas.
Recognize the gentleman with the best tasting grapefruit ever.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We hope you get back there soon.
Oh, so too. They were delicious.
Mr. Chairman, members, my name is Dale Murden. I'm a lifelong citrus grower, president of Texas Citrus Mutual, and a former state director for the Texas Farm Bureau. The specialty crop industry is likely the most diverse sector in the ag industry. I mean, we run the alphabet gamut from artichokes to zucchini, with citrus and potatoes to name a few in between. Today, I'll just briefly discuss a few of the recommendations submitted by the Specialty Crop Farm Bill Alliance. For me, TAP program and ECP programs, they're both current programs. They just need some flexibilities or clear direction added. In our case, following the freeze like we had here in 21, growers needed the flexibility to do things like tree removal in many instances where replanting trees just didn't make sense. Also, we need the ability to rehabilitate the older trees. This gets expensive, but also gets us back in production game faster than planting a tree from scratch. The planting density for today's standards needs adjusting. We simply plant more trees per acre now than the program allows. Mechanization and labor, as Brett mentioned, fruits and vegetables desperately need an infusion of funding for the development of technology for the harvesting and handling of specialty crops to remain competitive. Personally, I'd like to turn the dialogue around on the continued debate around immigration and labor and look inward about how we can solve some of this through mechanization and automation. The Emergency Citrus Disease Research and Development Fund. Please continue to support this most important avenue of research. As Representative Cammack can testify, it's devastated the flora industry, and we really need that. Adjusted gross income and pay limits. We ask that the AGI limit be waived if 75% or more income is derived from farming, similar to the 2002 Farm Bill model. High inputs of specialty crops really hamper us from participating in most programs. Personally, a permanent disaster program would really be beneficial. Just in my end of the world of South Texas, we've had some really bad luck the last few years. We had a hurricane in 20, we had a deep freeze in 21, sandwiched between record droughts and limited irrigation supplies, now and in 23. Don't get me wrong, the ERT programs were a blessing for many of us struggling to fight our way back, and we thanks for that support. But many crops grown, like Brett said, have yet to see any relief from 20 and 21 disasters and have no real crop insurance products for their crops. So a permanent disaster program would be very much needed. Water. Our industry works very closely with our sugarcane producers in the Rio Grande Valley. Recent droughts, extreme heat, and lack of water owed to the United States from Mexico have contributed to a decrease in production. Citrus, sugarcane, and other crops are multi-year crops once planted. The farm is invested for several years, so a problem one year affects multiple crops of production. Without adequate water resources, the producers won't deliver enough crops to run, causing significant increases in employee layoffs. We need disaster assistance, better crop insurance policies, and we all need stability with our own water resources. We appreciate y'all being in Texas very much. Thank you.
Dale, thank you so much for your testimony.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of Congress, Congressman Sessions, we thank you for being here in Waco and for hosting this listening session. Mr. Duvall, really appreciate your comments. To kick this thing off, I thought you nailed it. My name is Jeremy Everett. I serve as the founder and executive director of the Baylor University Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty. At the Baylor Collaborative, we believe that a world without hunger is possible. And we believe that answering that is in creating that opportunity is through cultivating innovative solutions that can be scaled both nationally and globally. The tools that we use to achieve this are research, public service and innovation, and public policy. We currently have research and innovative projects happening in every county in the country, from coast to coast, border to border. Most recently, we partnered with USDA to address rural hunger for children when they got out of school. During the pandemic, we know when schools shut down, kids around rural America didn't have access to school nutrition programs, so we partnered with Secretary Perdue at USDA to be able to develop a program we called Meals to You, where we scaled that program nationally to ensure that 270,000 children would receive 2 meals a day during the shutdown. Because of your wisdom, you all made that program a permanent program through the omnibus, and so now kids in rural America will be able to utilize that program in perpetuity. I've got a couple things to tell you. One, in the Farm Bill, there's provision for public and private partnerships. We certainly believe that no one sector can end hunger alone, and so we ask that you include that provision and expand it to ensure that both nonprofit organizations can come alongside government, faith communities, and industry in addressing the issue of hunger. The second thing is that we know that there is a larger amount of older Americans who are experiencing food insecurity. We'd ask that you, through research and innovative projects like pilot projects with Meals on Wheels America, will look at how we can expand access to food for families who are older Americans. And then the third thing is certainly we want to echo Celia Cole's comments that SNAP is one of the best programs we have at addressing hunger in a comprehensive way. And so we appreciate your commitment to continuing and strengthening that program. Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you so much.
Chairman Sessions, Chairman Thompson, good to see y'all down here in my neck of the woods. Now, I am actually from Paris, Texas, not Austin, Texas, and I don't know how we've made it this far in the Farm Bill discussion without talking about football, but your Texarkana Texas High folks kicked our butts back in high school, and I can't say I have ever let that down. Anyway, on behalf of the National Turkey Federation, I represent all the turkey farmers throughout the country. You all know very well that the high path avian influenza outbreak has impacted and killed 10 million turkeys nationwide, about 58 to 59 million eggs, ducks, and turkeys nationwide as a whole, and cost the federal government over $2 billion in funds dealing with this outbreak, and we are nowhere near the end of this particular session. We also had it back in 2015. This is a worldwide epidemic that we have to deal with, and we need some broad and really critical ideas. A couple of things that we want to deal with. One, the three-legged stool, which is the NADPREP program, the NOMS laboratory, and then the vaccine bank. People may not know, while you also have the hoofed animals that utilize the vaccine bank, the high-path avian influenza vaccine that may ultimately need to be deployed also can be stored in that particular program. So support and keep that going. We're working very hard to do this, but it's important to deal with that. One of the other things that we're working on and talking about is a consortium that deals with the high path avian influenza and bringing together the brilliant minds across the country. They did this back on E. coli 0157H7, brought together a bunch of universities, the best minds, to understand how do we work together, a center of excellence, whatever you want to call it. But it's important that we bring the minds together, because if you ask any folks around the world, there is no solution to this, and we need to make sure that we're bringing the best minds to boot on this particular program. Once again, 47 states have it, so nobody is immune, and no poultry product is immune. If it is exposed to it long enough, it will die from this particular outbreak. The third thing, we also want the expanding agriculture export program, which doubles MAP and FMD funding. We certainly support that. Actually, I'm going to Colombia later in May on a export program and expanding those programs and working with that. There are great success stories. One of the Philippines that go with this particular program. And then finally, the supply chain enhancement program, which actually focuses on cold storage around the country. They utilize this in many different locations through the FMD and the MAP program, and we want to make sure that a lot of that money gets dedicated to cold storage, because then our products, whether it be India or Morocco or a lot of Africa, we have the ability to get in there and store those products safely. Thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you guys during the Farm Bill process.
Damon, thank you so much. Appreciate your leadership.
Great. Next we'll hear from Brad Hempkins with Ducks Unlimited, the state chairman from Allen, Texas. Then we'll hear from Dale Cugat with Olam Agri from Richardson, Texas. And then Brett Erickson, then Blair Krebs with the Texas Pecan Growers Association.
Howdy, Chairman Thompson and colleagues, fellow Eagle Scouts. I want to thank y'all for putting this together today and serving on the House Ag Committee. My name is Brad Hempkins. I'm from Allen, Texas. I serve as the state chairman for Texas Ducks Unlimited. Ducks Unlimited is the world's largest conservation organization for waterfowl and wetlands, with over 1 million supporters worldwide. I represent over 53,000 dedicated members across the state of Texas. So speaking on behalf of Texas Ducks Unlimited today, you got to hear from a rice farmer, Mr. Shade Shearing. That's a great example of how DU works with farmers and ranchers and landowners. It goes without saying that agriculture and forestry are strongly linked to our wildlife and outdoor industry. We can thank our farmers and ranchers for our wildlife habitat. We're proud of DU's long 87-year history of working with farmers and ranchers to deliver voluntary conservation, and we look forward to continuing our work to sustain our country's natural resources and proud rural communities. The conservation programs included in the Farm Bill are a key part of the safety net used by farmers and ranchers to maximize on-farm efficiencies, productivity, to maintain soil health, water quality, wildlife habitat on their lands. Conservation is high demand in this country, particularly how DU and our friends in the agriculture world practice it. This is a voluntary and incentive-based program. Respectfully, we'd like to ask your colleagues to support the most efficient and important conservation programs in the Farm Bill. Those include Regional Conservation Partnership Program, the EQIP, the Conservation Stewardship Program, Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, and the Conservation Reserve Program, CRP. We look forward to working with you, Chairman Thompson, and your colleagues from Texas in writing the 2023 Farm Bill that sustains our natural resources. Thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Dale Cugat. I'm with Olam Agri. We're actually a cotton shipper out of Richardson, Texas. My comments is mainly coming from me personally. I worked for USDA for 10 years. I really hope we don't forget USDA in regards to these farmers work extremely hard to make a product, but we don't have good price discovery. For example, in the cotton industry, Texas is the second largest state, but yet under NASS, we're given one number for all of Texas versus the 17 other states, but mainly due to budget cuts. And I can tell you that's not just NASS, but across the board, Price discovery is the most important thing. As a cotton shipper, we sell cotton all over the world, and we can make more money on that price discovery than you can on growing cotton or growing any product. End of the day, if you can't make money, these programs are only supporting you from a government standpoint. I think we need to be looking from the marketing standpoint of letting these guys make more money by, like I say, better price discovery through some of these other programs. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Blair Krebs with the Texas Pecan Growers, and I'll start off by saying I don't care how you say the word, as long as you're eating them and supporting our growers, that's fine by me. And I won't repeat a lot of one of my pecan partners here already spoke to y'all earlier, and a lot of specialty crop people said a lot of things that needed to be said about our industry. But we face the same issues, the trade issues, which we've had y'all's help with, as well as input costs. But I'll also put in that pecan trees are a permanent crop and also a native crop. So when it comes to crop insurance, which is a wonderful safety net for our industry, there are some issues, particularly in Texas and the western states, in the way that crop insurance is handled and decided upon. It works very well in eastern states, but because we're across over 15 states in our production, we could really look to help to make sure that safety net is adequate for the entire industry. So with that, they're very covered a lot of the issues. I'll go from there. Thank y'all.
All right, thanks so much.
Great. Next, I've got Charles Ring with Texas Corn Producers, followed by Rodney Shapa with an owner of a farm from Lubbock, Texas, and then Gary Jackson with the Western Peanut Growers Association from Seminole, Texas. All right, is Charles not here? All right, moving on, is Rodney here? All right, okay, you can use that mic.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and speak before y'all. I'm here to speak on the CCC 941 Adjusted Gross Income Form. I grew up on a farm. I farmed for many years, and then I went to work for FSA as a CED in a large cotton-producing county. This form it's very time-consuming, very labor-intensive. We have to send it to the IRS. Billions of dollars is paid to the IRS to process this form and to tell the FSA that somebody is over their adjusted gross income. In the county I worked in, I could count the number of people that were over the AGI on these two hands. Most of those were oil producers. They were into the stock market. They were retired, or their husbands had outside income. I don't know of any farmer that went over that AGI. There needs to be this form. When it came out, in 2003, it was a 5-year form. The mistake made was that operators could sign for the owners. It takes the original signature, and now there's got to be a way that original signature on this form could be used for multi-years. 3 or 5 years, they could sign it up when they go to the FSA office, sign into the Farm Bill on the 5-year program. The FSA office could check a box on there that they have the form, and IRS could be allowed to cross-check these forms and on the tax returns and come back and tell the FSA office that yes, that person is eligible, or no, that person is not eligible, without having to take almost a full-time employee all year working on these AGI farms. We had over 4,300 owners and operators, and I had one lady, that's almost all she did all year long, was to process these forms, enter into the computer, mail them to IRS. The IRS sent them back, and we had to file them again. It's very time consuming and labor intensive. There's gotta be a better way to do this, and save that employee with all the budget cuts, that employee can be doing something else to help the producers in that county. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Rodney, thank you so much. Thanks for identifying that.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Gary Jackson. First of all, thank you all for coming and spending your time with us today. I'm with Western Peanut Growers, West Texas. A couple of things. Number one, I would like the committee to look at this as the Farm Bill as a whole. I think maybe needs to be looked at in the context of food security and for security for our nation. You look back the last 3 years or so, what's gone on in our nation and the problems we faced. Can you imagine if we didn't have a strong agriculture backbone in our country, where we might be today? So as we go forward, I wish you guys would maybe, I know y'all understand that, but maybe convince some of your fellow congressmen that it needs to be looked at in a different light. I want to reiterate what the young man said a while ago about the inflation. Some of you folks, I don't know about y'all, but that young man, I don't know if he's got enough gray hair to remember the 80s and what we went through. Some of you guys remember that? Inflation, high interest rates, and then commodity prices fell. What happened then? My area was devastated. Lots of families lost their farms, never to return. Those that were able to stay on the farm were wounded financially for a long time. We don't want to ever see that in our country again. That was a terrible situation for our ag community. We don't want to see that, guys. We've got another problem with regulation. Some of these regulations look great on paper, but when they get out to the farm level, they cost a lot of money, and guys, they really don't do a whole lot to help anybody, to tell you the truth. So if there was a way to write some of these regulations, it would, I know their intentions are good, but sometimes it just doesn't work on the farm level. So if there would be a way to have a little more oversight on the regulations. And again, we thank y'all for your time, and we know you've got a big job ahead of you, and we appreciate your work. Thank you, guys.
Gary, thank you so much.
I apologize in advance if I butcher your name. Selena Esquan with the National Young Farmers Coalition from Fremont, Texas, followed by Tony Atkins with the American Livestock Markets and Dealers Association from Fairfield, Texas, followed by Catherine Byers with the Houston Food Bank.
First of all, I just want to say my grandmother is like so happy that I could be in front of you, Jasmine. She's in Dallas, so she was excited that I would be here today. But I'm Selena Sakau. I'm a farmer from Robertson County, Texas, in this district. I started my farm, Dry Bones Hills, in 2020 on our family land that's been in our family for 150 years. It's considered heirs property. Heirs property is land that's been passed down without a will or deed from the deceased property owner to all of their descendants. While we have the right to use our property, obtaining a clear title and resolving estate issues remain a problem. I've been involved in food access and agriculture for 10 years, and recently I left the Dallas area in order to live out my dream by coming back home, growing various fruits and vegetables for my rural community and to sell at farmers markets. But living on our property is a challenge. Currently, we're trying to keep up with increasing property taxes, generate viable income streams, maintain the land, develop infrastructure, increase family involvement, and much more. I'm a land fellow with the National Young Farmers Coalition, and there's 100 of other fellows just like me that are working to support equitable land access for young farmers. The need is urgent, but so is the opportunity. Nearly half of the U.S. farmland is expected to change hands within the upcoming decades. And young farmers are leaving agriculture because they cannot secure land. This farm bill is a pivotal moment to invest in the individuals who will steward agricultural land and grow food for our communities into the future.
For this new farm bill, I'm asking that you continue to invest in heirs property relending program and expand funding eligibility to include administration of program funds by relending entities. Federal policy can and should acknowledge current stewards' work and bolster incentives for farmland owners to transition land to the next generation of farmers, especially farmers of color. Things such as absentee land ownership, legal complications, risk of partition sales, high cost of living, and lack of incentives also make land retention for heirs property owners difficult. In my community of less than 100, several acres of farmland have been bought out by developers. We are losing the opportunity for people to be entrepreneurs and losing valuable farmland that can feed our underserved communities. Losing this land is changing the culture of my community, thereby changing the culture of Texas. Please support young farmers accessing land. Thank you for your time.
Selena, thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Atkins, and I represent Livestock Marketing Association of Texas and American Livestock Markets and Dealers Association. I would like to thank Chair Thompson and the entire House Ag Committee for coming to Texas and hosting this listening session. We appreciate the opportunity to provide input. Texas has the largest cattle inventory in the U.S. with 12.5 million cattle and calves. Our member livestock markets and dealers will market most of these cattle along with sheep, goats, and horses, comprising millions of dollars to trade on an annual basis. Livestock dealers provide valuable liquidity in the market and help enhance price discovery for all market participants. Livestock markets and dealers also serve as one of the first and only touch points in the supply chain for small and mid-sized livestock operations, and therefore play a valuable role in helping USDA achieve several of its key objectives. I want to focus my comments today on 4 points of emphasis. First, animal disease traceability. The evolving animal disease traceability landscape is placing increasing demands on cow-calf operators who will eventually be required to tag cattle before leaving their point of origin. Because many livestock producers lack the facilities or resources to identify their livestock before leaving their place of origin, livestock markets carry a significant and undue burden for the industry by serving at least as the first touch point for these operators. Livestock markets and dealers therefore serve a unique role in implementing an animal disease traceability plan. We ask that USDA recognize that livestock markets and dealers work with all forms of animal identification, all classes of cattle, and are required to meet a variety of state and federal regulations regarding animal movements and record keeping. Due to the complexity of livestock markets and dealers, bear a disproportionate share of the burden for providing these technology, labor, and animal health risk to comply with animal disease traceability regulations. Our members are supportive of animal disease traceability and its goals. However, the compliance burden and investment requirements are significant and involve significant cost-benefit evaluations. For example, innovations like the high-frequency ID-enabled back tags are an excellent option for livestock markets and dealers to permanently or to electronically identify livestock and to meet interstate movement demands, but may represent challenges for others in the supply chain. To enable all livestock markets and dealers to comply with the complexity surrounding animal disease traceability, we believe USDA should consider grants and/or funding mechanisms to support livestock markets and dealers required to provide readers, equipment, systems, and labor required to meet animal disease traceability requirements at the speed of commerce. Second, rural broadband infrastructure. Livestock markets and dealers are increasingly dependent on rural broadband infrastructure. Many livestock markets and dealers rely on internet services to help promote, buy, and sell livestock, with an increasing number of buyers and improving price discovery. Rural broadband is key to offering these marketing services. According to the Federal Communications Commission, 22% of rural areas lack high-speed internet. We encourage USDA to continue to invest in reliable high-speed internet services to help facilitate and improve
economic activity in rural areas. Third, livestock risk protection. Price loss protection programs such as livestock risk protection and livestock gross margin insurance have proved invaluable for producers seeking affordable price risk protection. The premium calculation methods and straightforward approach are appreciated by many producers. We encourage USDA to continue funding and enhancing these programs to help producers manage risk and preserve valuable operating capital. Finally, dealer statutory trust. It is important to note that the 2018 Farm Bill charged the Secretary of Agriculture with conducting a study to determine the feasibility of establishing a livestock dealer statutory trust. Livestock markets and dealers have operational methods and customs which are uniquely adapted to the regional nature of their businesses. Southern and northern livestock markets operate in completely different ways. We believe the feasibility study did not adequately consider the realities of livestock markets and dealers in the southern U.S. The Securing All Livestock Equitable Act, also known as the SALE Act, was included in the 2020 HEROES Act and became law in late 2020. This law was well intended, but was ultimately enacted without fully considering the impacts on all livestock markets and dealers. Our member livestock markets and dealers have adapted their business practices to work within this new law, but it has created an undue burden on livestock markets and dealers. We hope that USDA will consider unique regional differences in livestock markets and dealers when considering potential requirements for future animal disease traceability or other regulatory actions. Again, thank you for coming to Waco to host this listening session, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Catherine, before you begin, I'm just going to call up Henry Witt with the City of Mart. He will be after you, followed by Josh Long with American Plant Food.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Catherine Byers, and I'm the Government Relations Officer at the Houston Food Bank. We cover an 18-county region in Texas and are the largest distributor of emergency foods across the country. While there's more in my written testimony, I want to focus today on the Farm Bill as an opportunity to increase the government's investment in the distribution of more nutritious food from farmers, ranchers, and producers to communities in need. I'll begin with the Emergency Food Assistance Program, TFAP. As highly scrappy and trusted partners in their communities, food banks are able to distribute this nutritious food directly to communities with emergency food needs. Food banks also have the means to solicit funds that offset the storage and distribution costs that TFAP administration currently does not fully cover. TFAP is approximately 40% of the product available to food banks across the country. It is a vital resource to the communities we serve, but authorization levels need to rise so Congress has the opportunity to provide more funding. It's also critical that food banks continue to serve as the main TFAP distributing partner to communities in need. Farm-to-food bank projects that fall under TFAP provide a more direct way to build relationships between farmers and the food banks that serve the community. These projects offset the costs of harvesting, processing, and packaging food donated by the agricultural industry. The food is then distributed to the community by food banks that have the experience and infrastructure to support emergency food distribution. We would recommend eliminating the need for state match for these projects so more states can participate in the program. These and other aspects of the nutrition title are not only essential for the health of our communities, but for the economic success of our communities. We look forward to working with you in the next few months in order to strengthen the Farm Bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Committee. My name is Henry Witt, and I'm the former Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Mart. And now I work for MRB Group Engineering as a municipal consultant to the City of Mart and other communities in Central Texas. Mart is a rural agricultural community 20 miles east of Waco with a population of about 2,000. The median income in Mart is about $20,000 a year. The people in Mart don't make a whole lot of money, but they're real proud, and their football team will probably whoop yours. Mart's water system is unique in that they have two sources of drinking water. They have surface water from a lake and they have groundwater from a well. The well water is not suitable for consumption by itself because it contains arsenic at a level higher than EPA allows. To fix this, they blend the surface water from the lake with the groundwater from the well to dilute the arsenic level to an acceptable EPA level. During Winter Storm Uri, the pumps in March Lake froze, so they were unable to use any of the water from the lake for blending, and they were forced to send arsenic-laden well water to the citizens. After the storm, in an attempt to keep this from happening again, Mart submitted for USDA funding through the Emergency Community Water Assistance Grants Program, and also referred to as ECWAG. This is through USDA. According to the Code of Federal Regulations, the objective of the ECWAG program is to assist residents of rural areas that have experienced a significant decline in quantity or quality of water. In Mart's case, they experienced a significant decline in both. Yet Mart was denied funding by the by the USDA through the ECWAG program before they even submitted a full application. USDA basically said that the water decline was not significant enough, which might make you wonder what level of arsenic in drinking water would USDA consider significant, even after EPA has considered the same level significant enough to find rural communities tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So let me be clear. This emergency meets the exact definition of this funding program, but funding was denied. If Mart's emergency and others like it don't meet the level of significance the USDA requires to help these rural communities, if this emergency doesn't qualify for an emergency community water assistance grant, then what would? Mart and other communities that were negatively affected by Winter Storm Uri would appreciate the committee's assistance in this matter in any way that you see fit. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and members of the Ag Committee. I'm Josh Long with American Plant Food and Sigma AgriScience out of Houston. I'm also an active board member with the Fertilizer Institute in Washington, D.C. We face a lot of regulatory burden that limits growth of domestic fertilizer supply. A $500 million grant is appreciated, but won't solve the supply and demand issues. Removing regulations would help supply for farmers, and most of the policies are summarized in the SUSTAIN Act. I know you've heard recently from Corey Rosenbush at TFI when he testified, but we would appreciate support for these policies in the House. Specifically, we would hope someone will sponsor the companion bill in the House. Lastly, and I realize it's not something necessarily before the Ag Committee, but I want to point out another issue that impacts Ag greatly, specifically in Texas, and that is the hours of service related to transportation of farm goods. The 150-mile ag allowance, I just want to point out the size of some of the western states, especially Texas, and 150 miles barely gets you anywhere, in these western states. I encourage you guys to ask more questions in this arena and look into this further and how you can help ag transportation. So thank you very much for your time.
Josh, thank you.
Next up is Mickey Edwards with the Texas Farm Bureau, followed by Roy Janik, a retired NRCS employee from West Texas, followed by Walt Hagood with the Texas Farm Bureau, and then Chuck Frazier with the Lone Wolf Whitetail Ranch.
I'm Mickey Edwards from Lampasas County. I'm a small farmer and rancher. We do hay and cattle and a little direct beef marketing. Thanks for being here, Chairman Thompson. I really don't have specific solutions. What I have is a philosophy. Profit is not a dirty word. Farmers and ranchers, in order to stay open, expand their operations, provide for their families, have to have profit. As you look at the supports, the safety nets that we have, be sure and keep that mantra in mind that profit is not a dirty word. And we really appreciate your support and you being in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Thompson, members of the committee, members of Congress, thank you for this opportunity for us to gather here today and share with you about agriculture and our needs. We appreciate that opportunity very much. I'm Walt Taygood. I'm State Director of the Texas Farm Bureau. I've been farming in the Lubbock area for 44 years. This will be my 44th crop, primarily cotton. I also serve on a community bank board there in Lubbock, and I've held that position for 23 and a half years. In that bank board, I also serve on a committee, the Directors Loan Committee. I've served in that position all these years, and this has given me a different set of lens to look through than most of my friends that are just producers. But from my personal experience and from being on the bank board and having an opportunity to see things that others may not see, what I want to try to explain to you is agriculture is extremely complex, as you well know. And it's so complex that a lot of times it's really hard to communicate to different people what's going on. And so when we have certain programs that come up, just like right now, I'm a little bit concerned about, climate smart, because all of us in agriculture are very concerned about our environment and our climate, and we want to participate in whatever we can do, but at the same time, we don't want to take on a burden that is beyond what we can take on. And so what I've noticed over the last several years is that when you get to know producers across this state, they're all different. We talk about this at the bank a lot. There's not any one of them that are the same. But what I've noticed more than anything else is all those producers understand best practice on their operation. And we need to have a farm bill that supports that, farm policy that supports individual farmers providing best practice on their operations. And so I would hope that y'all would keep that in mind, and let's not let something take over that would be damaging to that point right there, that producers would be, in a cookie cutter position to do something that's not advantageous for their operation. So, keep that in mind. And I want to thank again very much for your time, for you coming here to Texas. Appreciate you all very much. Appreciate your passion for our country. Appreciate your passion for agriculture. In Texas Farm Bureau, just know that our members are very passionate about feeding Texans and feeding the world and the nation. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your testimony.
Is Chuck Frazier here? After Chuck, we'll hear from Cynthia Stanek.
I'm hard of hearing. Mark said just read this thing, so I'm going to read it a little bit. Can you hear me? I'll
Just
read
get
it
a little closer
Thank
to the
you,
mic
Chairman
there, Chuck.
Thompson, members of the House Agriculture Committee. My Congressman, the Honorable Pete Justin, thank you for coming all the way down from Washington. Thank all of you for your service to your country. If we don't have agriculture in this country, we don't really have anything. Now, unlike this guy in Canada that says you don't need agriculture, we have grocery stores. God bless you. Well, Mr. Trudeau, that's not going to cut the mustard. And there's a lot more that we miss other than our livestock and our fruits and vegetables when we lose agriculture. These little farms shutting down, these small towns drying up. I hope you can do something to help the small farmer. My wife and I own a deer ranch, or we did until Texas Parks and Wildlife took it away from us. Anybody from Texas Parks and Wildlife, you can stand up. I don't guess they are. But we started this thing 30 years ago. Nobody gave us anything. We borrowed the money. We bought our ranch. We just made the last payment on our ranch 2 years ago, and then 3 years ago. And then this past August, we found out we had a positive hit for chronic wasting disease. I don't know who all knows what chronic wasting disease, but it's going to kill every animal in the world, especially in Texas. It's going to kill your children, your grandchildren. People are going to get like zombies walking the face of this earth. That's the way they have purported this thing to do, and they've got people convinced
that this thing is just deadly. It's been here since the colonies. And they use it as a guise to shut down small deer farmers and to shut down high fence ranches. Back in the day, and it's funny when you get old, you talk about in the day, but in the day hadn't been that long ago, in the late 50s, the places to go to hunt was Texas and South Africa. Well, we were seeing what Nelson Mandela has done to South Africa. Well, let's just look around and you can see what Texas Parks and Wildlife is doing to Texas. There's something else at play here, and I hope that you will investigate it, try to get to the bottom of what players are doing what as it relates to the chronic wasting disease, how it's managed, and how they're destroying the livelihoods of these small ranchers. Thank you, sir.
Chuck, thank you. And Chuck, you'll be happy to know that this committee did pass chronic wasting disease bill. Finally got signed by the president in December. So we'll be doing some research. We need to find a live test so we stop having to call the entire herd and learn a little more about CWD, how we prevent it, how the vectors are that it actually travels. So.
Great. Is Cynthia Stanek here? After Cynthia, we'll have Thomas Wynn with the U.S. Rice Producers.
Hi, I'm Cindy Stamer. I'm a proud former Kansas resident raised in the open lands of the Cheyenne Bottoms waterfowl area with ranchers, farmers, and other agricultural people spanning the states of Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, and California. All of them share one central concern that's going to be before the committee now and in the years to come, and that's water. Ag can't live without water. We talk a lot about global warming. We can talk about all you want, but the real fight is what we're seeing out west in Arizona, California, and those states, but is actually nationwide. And that is the fight over population expansion, fighting with agriculture. If we want to shoot pheasant in Kansas, have cattle in New Mexico and Texas, and feed our nation and the world, we want to have the great wheat states and sunflowers of Kansas and the corn and the hay and the other things like peanuts I learned about this week here in Texas. If we want to have timber in the chairman's states, if we want to feed and have our people prosper, we got to solve the water problem. And we got to put our heads together and balance the EPA and communities and other things. And what happens out west is happening here in Texas and everywhere else. Team Bill Pickens, in one of the interviews I got to do with him years ago, stopped viewing oil as number one and views water as number one. So I beg you, not just for our ag communities, but for cities and elsewhere, we need to make this a high priority. The second issue is one that Congressman Sessions probably gets tired of me talking about, but as a rural American who's grown up with and continues to spend most of my social life with people in small towns across these states and others that I mentioned, I want to point out to you that most small and family ranches are sole proprietor, they're small business, and they live in places where they don't have a lot of option for health care or options for health coverage. And they live in professions that are desperately dangerous. It's not just our migrant workers, it's just the nature of agriculture. It's hard work, and it spans whatever you do, whether you're the landowner and operator or you're the worker. So please, continue to struggle to help them with those problems, because a $7,000, $8,000 deductible when you live in the middle of nowhere and you have to travel hundreds, if not thousands of miles to get your cancer treatment or your heart condition, or as my cousin's wife yesterday had to do to leave far western Colby area to go have her baby in Denver. They need the help there. So that's critically important. And then I want to point out a final area really quickly. You know, agricultural people, they live a very diverse life. They work in agriculture and they play in agriculture. We do horsemanship, we broke cattle, we hunt pheasants, and transportation and gas and hay and everything is killed by the prices of transportation. And so it's not just the comment that was made earlier about the difficulty, you know, with doing, but you know what, cattle and horses can't just sit on the side of the road and wait. And the price of gas and diesel and all those other things are really expensive.
So hay has tripled in price. Tripled in price. That's not unique to ag, just in general, to the horse world, and it's not just about our riding horses and shooting balloons on the weekend and all those other things we do. It's every aspect of it, and it ripples through all of the things that are within your area of concern. You can't solve poverty when the price of food keeps going up because the price of gas keeps going up and all these other things go up. We've got to solve the transportation crisis. I want to thank you all from the various states you come from for your passion and commitment to the family farm and the farmer. They are our people, they are our roots. They are what feed us. They are the people that are our backbone. I don't get to live there anymore, but by God, I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful I get to have them in my family and my friends, and I appreciate each of you taking care of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
After Thomas, we'll hear from Sean Holliday with the National Cotton Council, and Ronny with the National, and Melissa Haberstroh with the IFYE Association.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Ag Committee, thank you so much for taking the time to come down here to Texas, having a listening session. It's always a pleasure to get to interact with the people that make the policy, and we really appreciate it. My name is Dr. Thomas Wynn. I'm a rice farmer, corn farmer, cotton farmer in Wharton County, Texas. I'm here on behalf of the U.S. Rice Producers Association. I sit on their board. I'm also a member of the Texas Rice Council. First, I would like to thank you for the $250 million rice package that y'all recently passed as part of the omnibus bill. It came at a very unique and fortuitous junction in time for rice producers as we were coping with historically high input prices, and unfortunately a market that wasn't responding sufficiently to offset those costs. I'm feeling it on my personal baseline on my farm. As we move into the Farm Bill season, this is the most important piece of legislation on the docket for me this year, simply because the failure for the rice market to reflect current input cost of production requires me to lean ever more heavily on the safety net benefits that are encapsulated within that piece of legislation. Like many of the other folks in this room, one of the things I'd like to ask for is a little bit more money, because we've been feeding the nation and the world with 0.2% of the federal budget. So if we could maybe get a little bit more into the commodity support program, we'd be really grateful. The same with reflecting some of the reference prices to reflect current cost of production. That would be helpful as well. As you mentioned earlier, your insurance program is a true cornerstone of farm policy. Thank you so much for perpetuating that, and any improvements you can have would be grateful. And also anything that you can do is through the farm program to facilitate exports, whether it's the market access program, the foreign market development. That gives us kind of the third leg of the stool to keep our marketing options open. Thank you very much.
Thomas, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello again, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Appreciate y'all being here. As I talked more personally earlier, I'm Sean Holliday. I served this year as chairman of the Cotton Council. And my real job is I'm a farmer out in West Texas. My wife Julie, daughter Katie, and I are mainly cotton farmers out in West Texas and Dawson and Martin counties. That's what we do for a living. That's what we've always done for a living. That's what we want to continue to do for a living. But right now I'm rising in representing the National Cotton Council, which most of you know, and if you don't know, represents 7 segments of the cotton industry. If it's part of the cotton industry, Cotton Council develops policy and tries to get a consensus on our recommendations, and we move forward with that. And it's a pleasure to serve, and been working with them ever since I was very young, and I realized very early on in my life that federal farm policy and crop insurance both were going to be the most important, even more important than rain prices or anything else, because that is what kept us out of the trouble with other countries subsidizing and over-subsidizing. It's what's kept us out of major weather-related disasters and made me able to borrow enough money in the hard times to make it until the next time. And
and I appreciate y'all being here and listening to this. And with that, I'm going to read my points as not to get sidetracked. The 2018 Farm Bill has served the industry well. However, the significant increase in input costs and disruptions in the global cotton market are undermining the effectiveness of the cotton safety net. We are grateful the House Agriculture Committee has urged the House Budget Committee to invest additional financial resources to write the 2023 Farm Bill. Since the finalization of the 2018 Farm Bill, the majority of producer assistance has come through ad hoc funding from Congress and USDA. While this relief has been valuable due to untimely disasters, trade disputes, and demand destruction due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee and the Budget Committee should use the 2023 Farm Bill to shore up the grower safety net and risk management tools. This would provide certainty to growers and lenders while also bringing about long-term budget savings as we move away from reliance on ad hoc disaster. The current safety net for cotton producers consists of three critical components: revenue and price protection from R-PLC, a full suite of crop insurance products and that producers can tailor to fit their needs, and a marketing loan program available on all production. This structure should be continued in the next Farm Bill. I encourage this committee to bolster those tools in order to better meet the needs of cotton producers in the current climate of high production costs and volatile markets. Despite the increasing competition from imported textile apparel products, the U.S. textile industry proved its resilience during the COVID pandemic by quickly shifting their manufacturing facilities to the production of personal protection equipment. The ability of the U.S. textile industry to maintain this production and employment base can be attributed to the continued benefits of the Economic Adjustment Assistance for Textile Mills. This program should be continued in the next Farm Bill, and we encourage the committee to look for opportunities to boost the support of this program. A strong conservation title is beneficial for the environment and is an important tool for producers across the United States. Working lands conservation programs are the utmost importance to most producers. Funding approvals must recognize the unique regional production practices while rewarding and not penalizing environmental productivity of early adopters. The 2023 Farm Bill should not impose any further tightening of payment eligibility restrictions or limitations due to size. Recent disaster assistance programs recognize the detrimental impacts of overly restrictive limits and provided more reasonable limitations to benefits. Similarly, similar provisions should apply to R-PLC commodity and conservation programs. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to address this committee.
Sean, thank you so much. And thank you to the domestic cotton industry for the role that it played during COVID.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and esteemed members. My name is Melissa Haberstroh. I'm the National Program Director of International Foreign Youth Exchange Program, or IFE. For 75 years, IFE has been a cultural exchange program with an agricultural and rural foundation. The organization was started by a couple of young Cornell World War II veterans who believed if we understand the cultures of others, we could also avoid war. This exchange is as relevant today as it was in 1948. IFE sends and receives 19 to 26-year-old young adults in partner exchanges with 20 or more countries annually, including South America, Africa, Asia, and Europe. What makes IFE unique is our practice of having all participants live from 2, 3, or 6 months with multiple rural families in various parts of the U.S. and partner countries. We champion education, diversity, international cultural understanding, trade, and leadership development. Each IFE exchangee touches more than 2,000 lives during and just after their exchange, to say nothing of the lifelong impact to their family, friends, and communities. Once part of the 4-H organization, the IFE organization now has been self-supporting since 4-H took its separate path to supporting more young adults than what we could sponsor. The goal of our organization is now to send 100 to 125 IFEs to partner countries and receive an equal number of exchangees each year. We are asking for your support for funding through the 2023 Farm Bill, as we cannot support that growth with our current funding sources. By investing in the IFI Association, our government could impact the lives of 500,000 people in the U.S. and around the world annually. The deliverables for this program are to provide in-depth knowledge of international cultural differences, trade barriers, foreign agricultural production, and value-added uses to future leaders, such as Philip Wessel, a 2022 IFI to Germany, who said, "IFI gave me an opportunity to get an international perspective on agriculture at an early age by utilizing long-term connections to provide an immersive experience in international farming. It also gave me the opportunity to meet with some major players in the international ag world that have influenced my future career with the Foreign Ag Service. I would not have had the same experience if I traveled without IFI." And Rachel Gray, also from 2022, IFI was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It really opened my eyes to the different cultures, agricultural practices, and perspectives from another part of the world. I'm extremely thankful that I was able to participate in this extraordinary program and grow my love for the agricultural industry. Through my IFI experience, I was able to gain further knowledge about the dairy industry to bring back to my own family farm. As a former IFI myself, both to Botswana and Belgium, and now the National Program Director, and on behalf of all the IFIs 2,000 strong that are alumni, I thank you for your interest and thank you in advance for your support. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Next up is David DeYoung with Select Milk Producers, followed by Aaron Martinka with Texas Corn, followed by Jean Lowry with Texas Cattle Feeders, and Alice Starr with the Central Texas Food Bank.
Chairman Thompson and members of the committee, welcome to Texas and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I am David DeYoung, proud son of Dutch immigrants who came to America in 1957 with almost no material possessions or wealth. But they did have limitless hope, a strong work ethic, and the time-honored values of honesty, frugality, and faith, much like all of us in this room. I serve as a board member of Select Milk Producers, the nation's 6th largest dairy co-op, producing almost 9.5 billion pounds of milk last year from 112 family dairies. Select began in 1994, focused on quality and innovation. And in recent years, we have brought to market new innovation in the dairy case, including Fairlife milk and Core Power protein drinks. Mr. Chairman, you probably don't think of Texas as a dairy state, but it is big and growing. We are currently 4th in production, following closely behind Idaho for the number 3 spot. California's 1st and Wisconsin's 2nd. Dairy is the 2nd most valuable ag commodity in Texas, right behind beef cattle, which we also supply a good portion of. Texas dairy is just ahead of King Cotton, and we are good customers of the cotton growers, buying cotton seed for high-quality dairy feed, as well as many other commodity byproducts. In total, Texas produced 16.5 billion pounds of milk in 22, supporting 250,000 jobs with a combined economic impact of $50 billion. We have constructed butter, cheese, powder, bottling, and other processing plants. We have one of the best store-bought ice cream brands in the country, Bluebell. All this is to say, the Texas dairy economy is dynamic. We have made substantial investments in capacity and infrastructure meant to meet the demands of the marketplace and build resiliency. That in turn brings us to the Farm Bill. While I love this nation, I've been happy to work with USDA through the years. I do want to say that virtually all the growth and investment that we have witnessed in the state and dairy was not done with a hopeful eye toward Uncle Sam, but rather with a weary eye toward Washington and what the dairy and other programs might do to the industry by picking winners and losers within dairy. First, full-time dairy farms in Texas are typically disadvantaged by the Title I dairy policies. We have agreed to income support on the first 5 million pounds under DMC as tolerable. But any more than that, and the program starts to determine winners and losers via the politics of Washington. As opposed to the demands of the market, the pandemic-related CFAP program is a great example. This program was designed to make up for pandemic-related losses and paid based on the amount of calculated losses per hundredweight of milk. All production suffered the same result. However, in the case of the 750 cow dairy farm, it received almost double the assistance of a 1,500 farm and 4 times that of a 3,000 head farm. The average herd size in Texas is 1,700 head. And we have many over 3,000. So you can imagine the angst that program caused by the limits in CFAP. The Pandemic Market Volatility Assistance Program had the same disproportionate impact. With respect to Title II conservation programs, I want to say we are excited to be engaged in some truly amazing programs to better manage and utilize the manure from our farms in ecologically friendly ways. Conservation programs like EQIP and CSP have been a help. But here again, with over-restrictive payment limits and the size of our operations, Texas producers' ability to use these programs is diminished. There's a lot we can be grateful for in the Farm Bill, and we appreciate the House Agriculture Committee serving as a forceful advocate for production agriculture in the U.S. We support research, rural development, export programs, and especially the nutrition programs that provide healthy, nutritious milk. But just to reiterate, our main concern comes when the Farm Bill creates winners and losers within the industry and puts supply and demand signals out of balance. Finally, just let me say thank you for you coming to see and experience agriculture across the U.S. as you prepare to write the 2023 Farm Bill. I'm especially glad you came to Texas in my home area. We're always here, happy to answer questions and to work with y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're actually going to hear from Jean Lowry next with the Texas Cattle Feeders, and then Alice Starr, Natalie Castillo with Brazosport College, Cody Carson with the National Sorghum, and then we're going to end with our Texas Farm Bureau President, Russell Bainey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jean Lowry, and I'm here today as Chairman-elect of Texas Cattle Feeders Association and General Manager of XIT Feeders in Dalhart, Texas. TCFA represents Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Our members produced and marketed almost 6 million head of fed cattle in 2022, which represents approximately 25% of the nation's fed beef cattle supply. We appreciate the opportunity to provide our views on farm policy that affect the livelihood of our members. As you consider possible changes to the current farm policy, we urge you to continue to strengthen existing programs that provide significant benefits to our cattle producers. Some of these critically important programs include disaster recovery, risk management, voluntary conservation, protecting animal health through the foot and mouth disease vaccine bank. While I offer our continued support for these programs outlined above, for the reasons I will highlight below, TCFA opposes inclusion of livestock title in the Farm Bill. TCFA supports reduced government involvement in the production and marketing of ag commodities. We oppose government supply management programs. Our experience in the volatile and cyclical cattle market has proven time and time again that the market provides the most efficient, although sometimes painful, signals to producers on what to produce and what not to produce. We support free market principles and are strongly opposed to any form of government intervention that would limit or restrict our ability to market cattle in a manner that attains the highest value for our business or our cattle feeding customers. Finally, just last week, the USDA proposed a rule that would revise the definition of product of USA. Unfortunately, USDA's proposal attempt to establish a voluntary generic label that would place additional burdens and cost on cattle producers with no obligation on the part of retailers or packers to reward producers for their efforts. Instead, USDA should build upon existing USDA verification programs where the proven protocols and procedures and verifications ensure procedures are rewarded for value-added attributes associated with specific groups of cattle. It is important to let the market work. If market signals are sent to producers, we will respond. It is equally important to oppose consideration of proposals to reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling. Mandatory country of origin labeling, when implemented in 2009 to 2015, was disastrous
and costly experiment carried on the backs of producers. It was ultimately repealed by Congress in 2015 after the World Trade Organization ruled it was unfair trade practice. These are just a few examples to illustrate the importance of letting the free market work, to recognize existing environmental regulations are protective of natural resources, and to applaud the success of U.S. beef promotion and marketing efforts to domestic and international customers. It is for these reasons, and among others, that TCFA opposes inclusion of the livestock title that would open the door to unnecessary overregulation and harmful government mandates. Thank you again for this opportunity, and to provide these comments, and I would happy to answer any questions that you have.
Gene, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Alice Starr, Chair of the Central Texas Food Bank, and I'm so impressed and appreciative of so many members of Congress taking the time to be here to listen to those here in Texas who are very much affected by the Farm Bill. And that includes the Central Texas Food Bank. We serve 21 counties in Central Texas, and with the end of the SNAP program emergency allotments, which we understand, COVID is now over, thank goodness, or I hope so anyway. The Central Texas Food Bank expects a large increase in families seeking assistance. And to help us feed up to 400,000 people, that's how many we served during COVID, men, women, and children with nutritious food. We are really trying to emphasize nutritious food because that's medicine, isn't it? It keeps people out of hospitals. It is imperative that the Farm Bill renew and increase the Texas Emergency Food Assistance Program. TFAP will greatly help farmers and ranchers who provide healthful food to the food banks. So it's a win-win situation, isn't it? It helps the farmers and ranches, but it also greatly helps supporting those struggling to feed their families. We urge you to reauthorize the $500 million is what we'd like to see, mandatory funding for TFAP. That's a bit of an increase due to inflation, but it's so necessary. We want you to reauthorize and increase the $200 million per year discretionary funding for TPAP storage and distribution. We can't distribute food without refrigeration, freezers, and the way to keep food safe. Safety is so important. The Central Texas Food Bank will provide efficient and safe food storage and distribution to thousands of unreached families with financial help. And we would love to see you reauthorize the $15 million for TFAP infrastructure grants. It's a very small investment for a huge gain in storage and refrigeration. Please help us strengthen the SNAP benefits for seniors, college students, and others who do not currently qualify. Please expand the time limit on SNAP benefits during unemployment. It is totally inadequate now because unemployment lasts for more than just a few weeks for many people struggling. And thank you for listening to our grave needs to serve a large population who live in poverty, not only in Central Texas, but throughout Texas, and especially in the major cities. I know in Waco, and I think Congressman Sessions knows this, 30% of our population live in poverty. It's too many, and we can help them. So please let us know how we can help you, who work so hard to represent your districts. We're here to help you as you are here to help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Starr.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a divorced mom of 3 kids, ages 17, 11, and 2 years old. I work at Brazosport College, a community college located in Lake Jackson, Texas. I also work a part-time job at a chain store in my local mall.
Most of the hours I work are at Brazosport College, where I manage the day-to-day operations of our student food pantry called Gator Mart. This initiative has helped lessen the stigma of going to a pantry for many students facing food insecurity who are not able to qualify for SNAP benefits under the current requirements. The picture of the idealistic college student supported by their parents financially is no longer applicable in this day and age. More and more students are having to take out loans and work multiple jobs while going to school, not to mention all the non-traditional students like myself who are working parents. One thing all these students have in common is that they will likely not qualify for SNAP benefits for one reason or another. 1 in 3 students faces food insecurity, and it does not take much for a person to become food insecure. A car accident, a flat tire, even paying for college textbooks. Could all be the difference between having a full belly or going to bed hungry. Students facing food insecurity on top of financial hurdles are less likely to graduate. I myself experienced this firsthand. I had to put my collegiate aspirations on hold twice to provide for my family. By investing in our students now and making SNAP within reach, we increase the chance that they'll become successful graduates that have no need for SNAP or government assistance programs. Please consider allowing low-income college students who qualify for federal work-study or have no expected family contribution to their higher education costs to participate in SNAP. Let's make a change in the cycle of food insecurity for higher education students that would otherwise fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thompson, members of the committee. I'm Cody Carson, farmer in Olton, Texas. I represent Texas sorghum growers and as past president of National Sorghum Producers, but mostly today I'm here as a farmer. From coast to coast, it doesn't matter. We're all farmers. I'm not going to repeat what you've heard about RMA and disaster assistance, how far out of whack our reference prices are. If we can't get money for Title I, you're going to do the best you can. Although I did just repeat that, didn't I think? But we know our net spending isn't adequate. Our 2008 Farm Bill had $85 billion allocated over a 10-year period. In today's dollars, that's $121 billion. Look at what y'all are trying to deal with on this one. Our net spending isn't adequate. It's 0.2%. And those of you that know me know in my heart, I believe that this food and fiber program of our Farm Bill is national security. It's not to keep us in business. I would ask that as you as members of the committee go back, you've got people on the committee that are totally engrossed in the SNAP program, others that are totally in tune with row crops. Work in a bipartisan effort, work together, get us a farm bill that works for us this year. Take our message that we've given you here today back to the Hill, to your peers that we don't have access to, and explain to them the importance of this segment of the industry and what it means to our nation. I was in a meeting of the Federal Reserve a few weeks ago, and he informed me that agriculture is only 2% of GDP now. I don't dispute that. But if you've ever played Jenga, I think there's about 50 pieces. 2%. That's what we are. You can pull 10 or 15% off the top pretty easy. But you pull that bottom piece out and this whole puzzle comes crashing down. And that's where agriculture is. We are that bottom 2% piece that this nation depends on. We've put our trust in you. We've put our vote in you. Go back to the Hill and do what we need to take care of our country. And you know you have the support and the backing of all the farmers here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. And I think, oh, not quite. Oh, Mr. President.
Again, I'm going to echo what a lot of folks have said. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to members of the committee that are here today. Several of you were, along with the chairman, were able to spend a couple of days with us, with President Duval and some of our staff doing some tours. We appreciate that as well. And kind of like Cody, I wasn't going to repeat and get too far down in the weeds on some of the things our members and producers have said, but there are two things that I want to reemphasize. That the safety net with the crop insurance is so important.
It's so important to this state as it is. I mean, personally, we farm and ranch. My name is Russell Banning, for those of you that I haven't met, but we farm and ranch right south of San Antonio. And 2022 was like 2011. It was super, super tough. So that crop insurance is important. And then another way to say this when we start talking about asking for more money or whatever, how you want to say it, we can't apologize for that. Cody alluded to that very, very well. And we just can't. We shouldn't apologize for it. The amount of money that's needed in agriculture now, because it is about food security related to national security. That's exactly what it's about. So just in closing, something came to my mind earlier when Congresswoman Crockett made her opening remarks, and appreciate you, ma'am, being on the committee, about she wasn't real sure that she would ever get involved in something like this. Well, folks, look around this room, and y'all been sitting up there for 2 hours and looking at this room, and you know how important the job you guys are doing and ladies are doing for this country and for this industry. There's no doubt that the Farm Bill is one of the most important pieces of legislation that can be passed. We had producers speak today. We had our support industries, with whether it's fertilizer or different types of dealers. We had the food and nutrition interest folks well represented here today. Thank you for that as well. But that just shows to me and to our organization how important this bill is. And I know that you folks realize it. We look forward to working with you as we go forward. I know American Farm Bureau with President Duval, and we as a state organization, and the many other organizations that are represented here today, and we're represented at our roundtable. We look forward to working with you as we go forward. So all I want to say is thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. President. It has been an honor to travel this great state on this trip and see firsthand that just the amazing agriculture that's being done and really state of the art. So I appreciate you and appreciate your leadership here in Texas. And with that, that's a perfect segue for some closing statements to yield to the gentleman who has the responsibility to serve as the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, President Duval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it is just an honor to be here, and I have enjoyed Texas this week. I will tell you, I get asked a lot, what's the biggest challenge we have in writing this farm bill? Well, we have great committee members that serve on the Ag Committee that want to do the right thing. I testified 4.5 hours a day. I think he was trying to see how tough I was. We had 52 congressmen asking questions. And I told him, I said, that's not a problem. This is a good thing, because they were interested in what needed to be in that farm bill. And I appreciated all 52 of them taking time to ask questions. The biggest challenge we face, because they're doing the listening, they're collecting the data, information, but the biggest challenge we face is there's 260 people in Congress on the House and Senate side that's never been involved in writing a farm bill. Now, all of you have kinfolk all over this country. You may not know their congressman or senator, but you need to call them, because they all went to the grocery store and saw naked shelves during COVID. Food security is national security. They're dependent on us. And that 73% that said that passing a farm bill was important to our country, important to them and their families, they need to know how important it is for them to reach out to their congressmen and senators, help these guys get a bipartisan solution this year and get it done. We can do this. We are the American farmer. Nothing can stop us. And I know that you can do this. So thank you, and God bless you. I appreciate you letting me be part of this. And thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman.
Well, thank the gentleman. Now I recognize the member of Congress who's hosting us here today in Waco, in Texas 17, Mr. Pete Sessions.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for each of you who've come today with the expectation of being heard. Thank you. I think we did hear you. And the members of Congress who took time to be away from their families and their district, this is important to them. They also know that the things that they heard here could be consistent, perhaps said slightly differently, back in their districts. Mr. Chairman, we do need to pass the Farm Bill. Mr. Chairman, we do need to make it bipartisan.
Mr. Chairman, we do need to make sure we keep crop insurance and strengthen those things. Mr. Chairman, we do need to make sure that the nutrition programs continue. Mr. Chairman, we do need to make sure that what we're doing is keeping our ranching and farming and agriculture communities healthy in this country. Mr. Chairman, we do need to make sure we think of food security as national security. So, for those of you, because you're in Waco, Texas, or McLennan County, or Texas, I'm going to give you my website address. It's sessions.house.gov. There are many of you here today that I may not be staying up with every day on this issue. If you would choose for me to provide you feedback, content, and the ability for you to know as we engage in this issue and those issues that you think are important, please feel free to get in touch with me here in our office in Waco, Texas, or across this district. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time. To the members who've taken time to be here, including the gentlewoman from Florida who I did not get a chance to speak about earlier, Kat Cammack, who took time to be here. Kat, thank you very much, other members. Mr. Chairman, I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize the Vice Chair of the Full Agriculture Committee, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Austin Scott.
I'll try to hit these issues as quick as I can. To the lady who spoke about the heirs-related issue, I'm familiar with this issue. Fort Valley State is just outside of my district. It's one of the HBCUs. I've had some conversation with leadership from that institution about the best way to solve that. If you have suggestions on how to solve it, I'm open to them. As you know, it's an extremely complex issue. With regard to those who are here on advocating on behalf of nutrition, I will tell you, it bothers me that people, when they walk into the grocery store, they can't buy the same things for their family that I buy. I personally think it's ridiculous that you can buy Cokes and candy bars, but you can't buy rotisserie chicken or mashed potatoes. I do hope we're able to have that discussion as time pushes forward. For the producers, and man, we know we're all in this together, right? Because if we're not producing, then the people aren't eating. And if you're not farming today, the likelihood that you're going to be farming tomorrow is pretty slim. We can do some things with beginning young and small farmers, but the fact of the matter is it's going to be limited in how much success there is with getting the tonnage of food that we need. A couple of problems. I'll mention nitrogen. Number one producer is Russia. Russia is the number 2 producer of potash. Belarus is number 3 producer of potash. China is number 4. We've got to do a better job of making sure that we're not dependent on any of these countries for the inputs in agriculture. That includes seed and chemicals. As for the current environment and how we help you address your risk, I think we need to move pretty quick to get the Olympic averages updated to reflect the current cost of production. And I think that we can do that with regard to reference prices and loan values for crops. And I look forward to working with you and the rest of the committees on that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield.
I thank the gentleman. Now recognize Subcommittee Chairman, Dr. Baird from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate having this hearing session, and I appreciate my colleagues being here. But you know, most importantly, I appreciate the enthusiasm and your attentiveness for being here. I think it's going to be important that we listen to those of you that are directly involved in using these programs, and I think that'll make us have the opportunity to have a better farm bill. You know, I grew up in West Central Indiana on a farm, and so I really consider you folks the same kind of people that raised me with my family on the farm. And I consider you the foundation of these rural communities. The money that circulates because of your efforts in these small towns and rural communities is essential to keeping them alive. And so I really appreciate being a part of that. I appreciate being a part of this committee, and I really appreciate the ideas and so on that we've gotten here today. So I hope we will continue that. And Mr. Duvall, I'm sure you'll keep us straight if we get off course through the farm bill.
I really do mean that. I really appreciate the conversations that I've heard here today, and I've probably said too much already, so thank you very much.
All right, thank the gentleman. And now please recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Congresswoman Crockett, for closing comments.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chairman, and to my colleagues on this esteemed committee. And thank you so much to everyone who traversed across the state of Texas so that you could be heard. I just want to say that there was a comment that was made earlier about DC. I think the gentleman is gone. No, maybe he was sitting in this general area. It may have been you. And I'm sure a lot of you were thinking the same thing, and you said, listen, y'all have got so many differences, and then you said, but y'all agreed on this one thing, right? And I want to tell you that I truly believe that on this committee, we are all committed to actually getting this done. I know that there's a fear because there is so much divisiveness, but I am here to tell you that this committee, under this chairman's leadership, we are working really hard. And the reason that we're here is because what you say matters. And we understand, just like it's been reiterated over and over again, if you don't remember anything else from today, you should remember that food security really is national security. And so I'm just gonna tell y'all a quick anecdote to that. I had an opportunity to go on what we call a CODEL. And so I went into the Middle East with colleagues. It's both sides of the aisle. And I was told this story about the fact that in this small country that is in the Middle East, there was a blockade in 2017. They were unable to get any food because the countries around them decided that they wanted to cut them off. And they decided, we've got to do this a different way. And so even though they are surrounded by salt water and they are in the desert, they thought there's no way we can have our food be dependent upon anyone else getting it over to us. And I think that that is the best example of why it's so important that we understand, as it's already been mentioned, about even when we look at our soil and how the nitrates are coming out of Russia. Do we really want to rely upon Russia for something like our food supply? I would argue we probably don't want to. And so I would just say that I am so excited and so thankful for this opportunity. We hear you. We will get this done. I am assuring you of that. Thank you. And with that, I'll yield.
Gentlelady yields back, and I thank her. Please recognize the next gentlelady from the state of Florida, Florida 3rd Congressional District, Congresswoman Cammack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your patience. I apologize for my tardiness. I flew in from Florida this morning, and while everything is bigger in Texas, that also includes traffic jams and delays at the airport. So it's always a thrill coming into Texas. I particularly love this area. I think you guys call them kolaches? Is that what you call them? Yes, yes. But you really get me with the Clovis sneakies. For those of you who know what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, it is a thrill to be back here. I've been to Texas a few times here. I visited a few producers, farmers, and ranchers, and I have a great affinity for Texas. I grew up in Colorado on a small cow-calf operation. I rodeoed my whole life. My claim to fame is I was the mutton busting champion in Colorado for the state. And after that, I barrel raced for a very long time, but not well. You know, representing a district in Florida is really incredible because we not only have 300 specialty crops, we're like 3 states put into one. And so we have the full gamut, from timber to dairy, equine to peanuts, watermelon, blueberries. I think actually this year we'll produce 25% of the market share in the United States of blueberries. We really cover it all, and so I'm really honored to represent not just my district, but the state of Florida on the Ag Committee. So this is really important, not just to my district, but to our state and, of course, the country. You know, last year, I was really excited to lead on the waiver, the livestock waiver. Someone mentioned the electronic logs and the reset. To me, that's just common sense. Because in a state like Texas, in a state like Florida, if you're in Okeechobee, you're 8 hours, you ain't even out of the state yet. And for those of us that are Southerners, we know how hot it gets.
And when you're trying to haul up into Kansas or Nebraska or Colorado, that just doesn't make sense. So I'm really focused on common sense solutions. And a lot of times those are bipartisan solutions. So I think there's a lot of work we can be doing. For me, I'm also honored to serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee, so I get the 1-2 punch on the EPA. Watch out. I have a particular distaste for regulations because as someone who grew up in agriculture, I knew what those regulations were doing. While they may sound great in theory in Washington, there is no swamp creature or bureaucrat in the basement somewhere in Washington that knows better than us out here in the fields. So addressing regulatory reform, I know there's a lot of labor concerns, and really bringing down input costs. I know how hard it's been. I hear it every single day. One of the things that I've heard talked about here today is broadband, and of course we're moving into an era of precision agriculture. I have never been more excited, Mr. Chairman, than when I got to drive a See and Spray. Have you been on one of those things? That is awesome. I mean, that is the kind of technology that is going to revolutionize agriculture, not just in our country, but around the world. And then you think about what AI is going to do in introducing an entire new set of tools for our farmers and ranchers and give that next generation an opportunity to bite at the apple. That's my food pun for the day. You know, I think by and large what you're hearing here today is that advocacy is key. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I tell this to people all over the country. 25% of your job is advocacy. It doesn't matter what title you have, it doesn't matter what industry you are in, 25% of your time is advocacy, because if there's one thing I have learned about Washington and people in Washington, it's that you don't know what you don't know. And so no one knows this industry better than you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your insights, but we need you to continue the fight and help educate so many more up in Washington, because while we will put together an awesome product under the leadership of Mr. Thompson, I know that we will have colleagues on both sides of the aisle that will have questions, and your advocacy is very, very powerful in helping us advance this farm bill, not just out of committee, but off the House floor. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope I get the chance to know you a little bit more. And with me, I have my Deputy Chief of Staff, Ms. Jessica Norfleet. She herself is a producer, one of the largest producers in the state of Florida. And so it is really a passion for us. So I hope we get the chance to speak later. But thank you again so much. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady, and I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Texas 13, Congressman Ronny Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I just want to thank everybody for being here. As mentioned earlier, I'm super excited about being on the committee. I've been trying to get on the committee for a while. It means a lot to me being on the committee. I come from the 13th Congressional District of Texas, which is the Panhandle in North Texas, which is, in fact, the #1 ag district in the state of Texas. So needless to say, ag is important to the people that I represent, to their livelihoods, and to their well-being. I just want to, I'll make it short here, but I'll reiterate some of the stuff that's already been said here. I think the chairman mentioned it, President Duvall mentioned it, it was mentioned a couple times here, and I think Congressman Cammack just mentioned it as well. But one of the most important things that I think we can do right now, being a new member of the Ag Committee coming in and looking at all of this stuff, you know, some of this stuff's pretty complicated. The crop insurance, the ad hoc disaster relief, the conservation programs, they're not as straightforward as they probably could be and should be, and they're complicated when you start trying to learn about them. And I think that one of the biggest problems we have in Congress right now, and this is what I was alluding to, had been mentioned, is the other members of Congress. They don't understand this. I'm on the committee now. I'm immersing myself in these, in trying to learn all about this, and I'm doing so. But a lot of them, this stuff comes up for votes, and they don't understand how all this works, and all they see is the number, the dollar number that's associated with it, and they instinctively retreat from that. And it's up to us, members of the committee, that are understanding
understanding this, to go out and to educate those members and to make sure that they understand, and it's been mentioned multiple times, that ag is a national security issue, and we've got to get it right. It's important for all of us. And it's easy to make that argument. You can explain these complicated programs to them, but you don't have to work very hard to explain to people, the input cost, the cost of fuel and fertilizer and all the other stuff that goes into. People understand that. They see that in their day-to-day lives as well. And if you can relate to them in that way, I think that's important. It was mentioned regulations, the regulatory burden that's out there, whether it's WOTUS or the lesser prairie chicken, all these other issues. People don't understand the time and the cost that this really, the way that it impacts the ability to do your life and to make a living in this part of the country when you're farming and ranching with these regulations that are out there. So and other things like the workforce and the visa program and all these other things that are important to you. I promise to be a productive member of this committee. I'm going to work hard, just like all the other members up here on the stage, to make sure that our colleagues understand how important what you do is to all of us, not just to you and your families, but to all of our families. And so with that, I'll just turn it back over to the other members here, and I yield back, and thank you for coming today.
Dr. Jackson, thank you so much. We're proud to have you on the committee. Yeah. And now pleased to yield to the gentleman from Kansas, Congressman Tracey Mann, chairman of the Livestock, Dairy, and Poultry Subcommittee.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson. My district is Kansas, the central and western part of the state of Kansas. Appreciate you, Chairman Thompson. Appreciate Pete Sessions. For those of you from Waco, there's 435 members of Congress. I can tell you that few are more respected than Pete Sessions is on the floors of Congress. So you guys are very fortunate to be represented by him. I want to thank my wife and kids who are here today. It's our spring break. So the kids are here. I saw my 5-year-old stretched out and fell asleep, and I would just say she wasn't the only person in the audience that fell asleep, and I'll just leave it at that. Quickly move on. Hey, food security is national security. And at the end of the day, this is about freedom. And we can never forget that one of the many reasons our country is the free country that we are is because we've never had to rely on another country for our food supply. We get it wrong. We mess up agriculture in this country, and we start having to rely on imports like we have to do for our oil, unfortunately. We're in an entirely different place as a nation. So this matters greatly. Crop insurance is going to be huge. For me, and I hear that for many others. I think we got to acknowledge, you look at reference prices and where we are. The safety net is let's just say it's 5 feet off the ground, and it's developed. It's at that height to withstand a fall from 15 feet. But if you double, triple input costs, so you're falling from 30, 45 feet, you can do everything right. You can hit the net, and you can still hit the ground and do serious damage. And so that's what we're really talking about here, and that's why every 5 years we got to open up the farm bill and really listen to producers and understand where the safety net's at and if it's at the appropriate height off the ground. We've got to get it right. This time is very important for us in the committee to listen to you all to make sure that we get it right. And lastly, I would say I really appreciated practically everyone that got behind the microphone. They were there testifying on behalf of others, which says something about agriculture and our great rural community. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this. Yield back.
Well, I thank you. I want to thank all of our panel here. Please join me in giving each one of our panel members up here a big hand. I know they're going to use that, we'll use that information wisely and to build a farm bill that you need. I want to thank all those who provided their comments, their testimony, all of you who have submitted it in writing, whether it was using the comment cards or, quite frankly, that agriculture.house.gov or the QR code. Use a QR code and you'll be able to do that. We need your voice. We need your voice at the table. And finally, I want to say a big thank you to all of our staff that are here that helped that and make that happen this day. Did such an outstanding job. This farm bill is about those who produce, those who process, and those who consume. Oh, that would be everybody. And that's just one of many reasons why this farm bill is so important. My goal for the farm bill is pretty straightforward. It's a farm bill that we can pass in a bipartisan, bicameral way. We do it on time, and quite frankly, we make it highly effective, all aspects of it. And your input today really contributed to that. When I think about agriculture, I define American agriculture by 3 words. And I saw it in play today, this week, here in Texas, from forestry to cattle to commodities. And those 3 words for American agriculture are science, technology, and innovation. And nobody does it better anywhere in the world. The American farmer is amazing of what and I use that term pretty broadly, includes ranchers, foresters, processors. Nobody does it any finer. And that's, and I think that some of my colleagues and some of you talked about how this farm bill, if you exclude conservation, which is 5% of the farm bill, and if you exclude nutrition, which is very important to me, I was the chair of the nutrition subcommittee in the last farm bill, that's 8%. We wind up with 0.2% of 1% is what we invest in the farm bill. If you put the rest of that together, it's a total of 2% of total spending. And so it is about food security. And I know, and we know that as farmers, American farmers, you're facing a lot of headwinds. We heard about inflation, diesel fuel, input costs, availability of certain crop protection tools for food and fiber. I mean, it's just a lot right now that's making it difficult. We had our very first hearing on that issue because that's the landscape of 2023 as we write this farm bill. It was to show us and to hear from witnesses, and I thought we had great witnesses sitting next to one of them, that really laid out the landscape of where American farmers are today. Those hardworking families that provide us our food, our fiber, our building materials, our energy resources, all those things. And so we will be advancing some legislation to be able to deal with those headwinds through the Agriculture Committee here in the not too distant future. Something we had started last year, but we're going to put that forward. American agriculture productivity is amazing. It has increased 287% since the 1940s. 287%. Now with inflation, it's dropped down to 279. That happens with high costs and high inflation. But we're going to put together a farm bill that we put the programs in place to where we can drive that productivity to 400% by the year 2035. And we can do that. We have great momentum coming out of the 117th Congress. We've got leadership, which is very in the House, which is probably more supportive of the Farm Bill than any time in my experience. We have what we call the Four Corners, which includes myself, Ranking Member Scott from Atlanta, Georgia, a good friend of mine, close friend of mine. We have Senator Stabenow, who chairs on the Senate side, and Senator Bozeman from Arkansas. And we finished the year really strong. You heard about the rice fix that we did. We did a chronic wasting disease bill. That all these got to the president's desk at the end of the year. I wish they'd have gotten to the president's desk a little sooner, but there's this little thing about you got to work with the Senate. So still figuring them out. But we got a lot done. We did the Sustains Act, which will allow us to take private contributions, creates a public-private partnership with USDA to help fund more conservation programs using, contributions basically for businesses, corporations, businesses of all sizes that want to get their climate credentials. They want to be seen as climate friendly, green, sustainable, whatever word works for them in their marketing. And they can do that by helping the people that are truly the climate heroes of the world, and that's the American farmer. So those are all the situation we're in. I want to thank you once again. Thank you for being at the table, and thank you for your tolerance of sitting for so long. That was impressive. I think we need to give them a round of applause for all they've done. And with that, this listening session is now adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.